Hey Virgo, there's something uncomfortable sitting in the air right now, and I think you can feel it. Not the butterflies kind of uncomfortable, the other kind. The kind that lives in your jaw, in the tight place behind your sternum, in the way you've been checking your phone differently lately, like you're waiting for something or someone or both. Mmm, let's go there because I'm not going to open this the way you might expect. I'm not going to ease you in gently. I'm going to say the thing that's actually true. There is someone in your world right now who is not at peace, and their lack of peace has everything to do with you. Not in a dramatic movie villain way, in a very human, very real, very telling way. The kind of unrest that only happens in a person when they realize too late what they actually had. You know what I'm talking about. That specific person, the one your mind just went to. Yeah, that one. Drop a comment if a face appeared immediately when I said that. Now, before we go anywhere else, I need to establish something important because this reading has two very different energies in it, and I don't want to blend them into one comfortable narrative. There is the energy of someone watching you from a distance with something that doesn't feel like indifference, and there is the energy of a connection that is separate from that, cleaner than that, more honest than that. And I think part of the work today is learning to feel the difference between those two things in your body because they feel similar on the surface. Both involve intensity, both involve someone thinking about you, both create a kind of heat in the chest when you let yourself feel them. But underneath, they are completely different animals. Can you already feel which is which? Tell me in the comments. Let me start with the jealousy because I want to be precise about what jealousy actually is, not as a romantic concept, as a human experience. Jealousy is what happens when someone recognizes value after they've already forfeited their access to it. It's not love. It's not even desire. Not really. It's closer to grief wearing an aggressive mask. The grief of someone who made a calculation, decided you weren't worth what staying would have cost them, and is now watching from the outside as that calculation reveals itself to have been wrong. And that realization, it doesn't arrive quietly. It arrives as agitation, as surveillance, as that specific restlessness of someone who keeps finding reasons to know what you're doing while pretending they don't care that you're doing it. Does that behavior feel familiar from a specific person in your past? Let me know in the comments, because here's what I want to name about that energy. It is not your responsibility. I want to say that again in a different way. The discomfort of someone who chose to leave and is now uncomfortable watching you exist without them belongs entirely to them, not to you. You do not owe that discomfort your attention. You do not owe it a response. You do not owe it the satisfaction of knowing it has affected you. And yet, if you're honest with yourself right now, it has affected you, hasn't it? Not because you want them back necessarily, but because there's something deeply human about being seen by someone who previously looked past you. something that stirs old things, old questions about your worth, old wounds that never fully closed, and that stirring. And that's what I want to sit with for a moment, because it's telling you something important, not about them, about you, about the places inside you that still hold the residue of feeling like you weren't quite enough. Have those old questions been louder recently? Drop a comment if this is landing somewhere specific. Now let's shift, because there's something else in this energy, something cleaner, something that exists on a completely different frequency from the jealousy and the history and the complicated feelings of someone watching you from their rearview mirror. There is a connection, a real one. The title calls it a true connection, and I want to talk about what makes a connection true, not in a grand cosmic sense, in a practical, felt, undeniable sense. A true connection is one where you don't have to translate yourself, where the version of you that shows up doesn't have to be pre-edited for palatability, where your particular way of thinking, feeling, moving through the world lands with someone as interesting rather than inconvenient, where silence between you doesn't create anxiety, where disagreement doesn't feel like the beginning of an ending, where being known, actually known, not the curated version, but the real one, feels safe rather than terrifying. Have you had a taste of that recently? Even briefly, even in a moment so small you almost dismissed it. Tell me in the comments, because here's the probability I want to name directly. There is someone in your current reality, not your past, your current reality, who sees you with a clarity that is unusual, who has noticed things about you that most people miss entirely, who carries an awareness of who you actually are that goes beyond what you've explicitly shown them. Like they've been paying attention on a level that most people don't bother with. And that quality of attention, that specific, focused, genuine attention, it is not nothing. It is actually quite rare. And the probability that what they see in you matches something they recognize as significant is something your nervous system has probably already registered, even if your mind has been busy talking you out of it. Can you feel the difference between being looked at and being actually seen? Drop a comment if someone specific comes to mind. Now I want to talk about the phrase perfect match, because it's in the title and I want to handle it honestly. Perfect match doesn't mean flawless. It doesn't mean no friction, no difficulty, no moments of genuine misunderstanding. Perfect match, in the energetic sense I'm reading right now, means complementary, means the specific places where you are porous happen to be the places where they are solid, and the specific places where they are uncertain, that happen to be the places where you are grounded, not in a codependent, I complete you way, but in the way that two people who are both genuinely developed, genuinely whole on their own, find that being together creates something neither of them creates alone, a specific quality of thinking, of feeling, of moving through difficulty that is more precise together than it is separately. That is what the phrase is pointing at. And the probability that you are in the proximity of that right now, closer than you've allowed yourself to fully believe, is what I keep returning to in your energy. Does that feel like a possibility you've been protecting yourself from hoping for? Tell me in the comments, because I want to address something now. The complicated space between those two energies, the ex who is watching and the connection that is real, because sometimes they create confusion. The old energy stirs something, creates noise. And in that noise dot, it becomes harder to hear the quieter, cleaner signal of what is actually worth your attention. The jealousy is loud. Old things always are. They know exactly which frequencies to vibrate at to get your nervous system to respond. They carry history, and history has weight. But loud is not the same as important, and familiar is not the same as right. The probability that the noise of the old energy is currently making it harder to be fully present to the new one is something worth examining, honestly. Where is your attention actually going right now? Toward the person who is watching you from their rearview mirror, or toward the connection that is standing directly in front of you? Drop a comment if you can feel that split in your attention right now, because I want to say something direct. The person who is jealous made a choice. Maybe it was their choice explicitly. Maybe it was a slow erosion of choices, small decisions that accumulated into a direction neither of you fully named until it was already the reality. But a choice was made. And choices have weight. They create a kind of energetic record. And the discomfort they're feeling now is not a sign that they've changed. It is a sign that they've lost access. Those are two very different things. Changed people do something different than watch from a distance. Changed people find the courage to actually say the true thing, to show up differently, to demonstrate through behavior, not surveillance, that something in them has genuinely shifted. Watching is not showing up. Jealousy is not love. And the probability that what they're feeling right now has more to do with ego than genuine care for who you actually are is something your most honest self already knows. Can you feel the difference between someone loving you and someone not wanting anyone else to have you? Tell me in the comments. Now, let me bring this towards something solid, because I don't want to leave you in the complexity without something to stand on. Here is what I'm reading clearly in your energy right now. You are in a moment of real choice, not a dramatic, all or nothing kind of choice, a quieter one. The choice of where you place your attention, the choice of which frequency you tune into, the choice of whether you let the noise of old, unresolved energy pull your focus away from what is actually present and real, and and worth your genuine investment. The past is pulling. It always pulls loudest when the present starts to offer something real. Because the past is familiar, and familiarity creates the illusion of safety. But the probability that returning your attention to what is already behind you serves the version of your life that is actually trying to emerge right now is low, very low. And the probability that the true connection, the real one, the one that sees you with that unusual clarity, is worth your full and undivided presence is high, genuinely high. Let that land without arguing against it, without finding the reason it can't be true. Just let the probability sit in your body for a moment and feel where it resonates. Breathe. You know the difference between what was and what is. You have always known. The question has never been whether you can feel it. The question is whether you're willing to let what you feel actually guide where you go. And I think sitting here with you in this energy, I think you're closer to that willingness than you've been in a long time. Stay there, stay in the clarity, stay turned toward what is actually real. That is where everything worth having is already waiting. I don't sell futures, I build architects. No predictions, just the raw truth for the tough ones. Stay magic, stay in the now.